Guys, I am taking turkeys apart today. This was the biggest of the broad-breasted bronze turkey, and I wanted to give you an idea. This bird, I get this for breaking neck bones. That's how big this thing is, with beating on the back of the cleaver. But this is just a leg and thigh quarter, and that one's 4.7. The other one's slightly over 5 pounds. So combined, this little scale only goes up to 12 pounds. 9.39 pounds. From just the legs and thighs off of the one bird. We got that. I'll have to recalibrate it now. Hold on a second. Of course. Okay, back to 0. Put this in perspective. The wings minus the tips on this one bird. I don't know if you can see that. 2.81 pounds. From the wings, and breasts are over here. These breast cutlets off the bigger bird weighed just under 5 and one just over 5, and then the smaller bird, the smaller male, they were just under 4 pounds each. So just the breast cutlets alone, boneless breast cutlets from these two birds are almost 18 pounds of turkey. And what we've decided to do, since these birds ended up being so big, is these breast cutlets are going to the Bradley smoker today, seasoned up and smoked, and they are going to be on the menu, possibly the breast from the third bird as well, on the menu for the October event. And we're going to take all these big leg cutlets. Look at the size of that thigh. Look at that. That's going to be for us. We'll put those away for meals. And we're getting a lot of other trimmings and back to make stock and everything else. But I was going to say I think this is going to be our only year doing turkeys, but when I see the meat yield now for the level of work involved, it's pretty impressive. We'll probably be doing a few turkeys every year after this.
Piecing this together for you, but what you're looking at now is all of the breasts from the 3 turkeys. And like I said, I'll piece this together because I looked at the video where I was showing you the weight of the cutlets and it was really shaky, and having food on your hands and trying to use one hand for the camera, one hand for food is kind of difficult. So we've got all the breasts. I've rubbed them down with a little bit of peanut oil on both sides, just kind of help keep them moist in the smoker. And all the other parts are going to be vacuum sealed later once I get these guys going on the smoker. And all the seasoning is, even though it's turkey, Chef Keith's grilled chicken seasoning. He's out, but I'm stocked up on plenty of it, so I'm good to go. Always be a prepper. So these guys are going to go in the Bradley smoker. I'm going to go get the smoker ready to go and get this stuff in the racks. And there's the racks right here. So this little smoker will handle all 3 of these no problem. The one rack hasn't been used yet. It won't look all pretty like that in a minute. But I'll be back and show you the stuff going into the smoker. All right, guys. So I'll show you the smoker in a minute, but I wanted to kind of show you like everything but the breasts and what we came up with. I've got everything vacuum sealed now. You can see I have a leg quarter there, 4.81 pounds. Bunch of leg quarters. Individually packed the wings. There's some necks. It's like 2.81 pounds of neck from 3 turkeys. 1 pound turkey like trimmings. These are like extra trimmings, and I came up with like 3.5 pounds. So I robbed the backs a little bit to round it off, so I got 4 even 1 pound bags. And yeah, I have the backs. I just don't feel like doing stock right now, so I individually packaged the backs. And this is like, you know, the actual back, and you have the kind of the breast carcass. And instead of saving that for stock, it's just too much. So I really trimmed those down to where even the dogs probably wouldn't have got anything out of them, and just saved the backs and took all that trimming that I got off those extra, and they're in these bags. So here's what we actually came up with. And again, this is only 3 turkeys. 4 1-pound bags of trim meat for 4 pounds. 2.81 pounds of neck meat. Again, these are some pretty big, if you look at that, necks. And, you know, you might be used to the really big necks you get. The guy that had processed them for me, I guess they decapitated them and tossed that. So this is kind of the neck from, like, the top of the breast down into where it joins the backbone. So a lot of that was probably lost. Leg quarters, 22.97 pounds of leg quarters from 3 birds. Backs, 8.63 pounds of backs. Each one of those will make a meal. That adds up to 45.79 pounds from 3 turkeys that you see cryovac in front of you. And the breasts that are on the smoker right now, right at 25 pounds. That means I got 70 pounds of meat from 3 birds. That's really pretty impressive. And if you look at meals, so each one of those those 1 pound bags, you could probably make a meal, a stir fry or something. So that's 4 meals. The next, I'm just going to call that stock and a soup. That would be 1 meal. The wings, there's 6 wings. Let's go overboard and say I use 2 per meal, which is probably more than we need because some of them are 1.5 pounds of meat individually. But let's say that's 3 meals. So that's, what, 4, 7, 8 meals right there. The leg quarters, let's say each one's 1 meal. And there are meals with leftovers. There's another 6. So 9, 6, 12, 13, 14 meals. The backs, say each one makes a pot of soup, 17 meals. So 17 meals. And then the breasts are all going to the October workshop. Each one of those is multiple meals. Guys, I got to tell you, first year raising turkeys, I'm thinking this is the way to go with meat production. It's pretty amazing. Again, look, that's 1 leg quarter right there. Really a great yield for the amount of work we did. We did almost no work for these guys. We didn't have to feed them, but I mean, they fit right in with the ducks. And next up, we'll show you how the smoker's going and get all this stuff in smoker. We're sitting at right at like about 190 degrees, which is a great temperature for turkey. And you can see the way this works. There's these little pucks, or they call them biscuits, that are down in there. See if I can get one out. I'll probably tear it apart trying to get it out, so I'm not going to do it. There's little round pucks of wood that stack in here, and it's been running a while. And there's the money shot, so to speak. Let's let that come out. So you can see, this doesn't look like a very big smoker, and it's not. There's 25 pounds of turkey in there, though, and there's a whole rack not being used, so I could be fitting more in. And this, yeah, it does hurt, but not that much. See, those are the smallest breasts. I could be fitting more meat in with those. That's Henrietta right there being smoked, and just by feeling this, I can tell you it's got a ways to go. But this will all get sliced up and put away for about 30 days. And the guys that come, and guys and gals that come for the October workshop, this is what they'll be eating. And I will show you what it looks like. So I have now got these off the smoker, and you can see they look beautiful, but they really do need to be cooked a little bit longer. I can just touch that, and I can just tell that they need to be cooked longer. So what we're going to do next, we'll wrap them in foil, completely sealed in foil, and they'll go back on the Bradley smoker for about another hour and a half at about 150 to 175 degrees. And we don't need to do any more of the smoker cuts. That's one real nice thing about the Bradley, is you can use it like a low temperature oven. So they'll do that, they'll finish up, then they'll sit overnight, and then I'll slice them and put them away for the event. So this is what's awaiting you guys that are coming to the October skills event at 9 Mile Farm. Doesn't look like turkey. There's a reason. This is all vegetarian here. This is the makings of Escabache. We have jalapeno peppers, kind of been sliced into julienne. We have carrots, also sliced long ways. We have a ton of garlic, just basically cloves split in half to thirds, depending on how big they are. Whole bunch of sweet peppers, and we have a whole bunch of white onion. And this will all go into a fermentation crock in salt water, and this will be fermented for about 2 weeks, and then put into jars. And that'll be Escabache. This will be the spicy version, obviously, because it has the jalapenos. And I may make a smaller batch of just everything but the jalapenos for people that can't handle the heat. That'll also be at the October. A fermentation crock, and a lot of people look at these and think they're pretty expensive for what they do. And you can do this with a quart jar, basically, or a half-liter jar, and a cheap airlock. And we're going to show you how to do that at the event. But what I want to make you realize, though, is a lot of people, the reason they think these are expensive is like, they say, you know, how much can you really fit inside one of these? Well, that huge pile of vegetables, there they are, they're in there. And as you can see, there's quite a bit of room. I guess it's hard to see, but so I'm that deep right there before I come up to the top of the jar. So you could probably go like that much more. So there's a ton of vegetables in there. And what we're going to do to ferment this is we're going to add basically a saltwater brine. And what I use is I use 7 tablespoons to the gallon. 6 is recommended. I use just a little bit more than recommended. And usually a gallon of water will get me what I'm looking for. That'll pull up enough that when I put the weights in, and I'll show you the weights in just a second, that we'll end up with all the vegetables under the water. So what we're doing is we're creating a saltwater environment where the lactobacillus bacteria can ferment this, but the bad guys cannot exist in here. And then we'll add a little bit of water to here, and then that sits on there, and that creates the airlock. So these fermentation crocks, to me, they do a better job than the jars. Not that the jars don't do okay, they just do better. They hold a more uniform temperature. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some yogurt to give it like a kickstart of lactobacillus. And what I've done is that yogurt's been sitting upside down in the refrigerator like that for a couple days. And what that's done is let all the whey kind of flow to the top. Now, I like to make yogurt cheese, and a lot of times I'll make yogurt cheese, which basically you dump a cup or two of yogurt into either cheesecloth or flour sack towels and hang it for a day and catch the whey. But if you don't want to do that, what I'm going to use the rest of this yogurt to make more yogurt. Also something we're going to teach you to do at the workshop. And it's got live and active cultures in it. And this is a Greek variety. I like the cultures that are in here and the flavor it gives. So instead of actually making yogurt cheese, I'll use the main yogurt as a starter for my next batch of yogurt. But by setting it upside down, the whey should be, you know, kind of just sitting there. And I can get a tablespoon or two to add into there before I add the weights. Now, because I'm by myself, I'll do this with one hand. I'm going to go ahead and stop the camera. I'll come back and see, because I set that upside down, it's got a lot of whey right there. So I'll take a tablespoon. I really don't want the yogurt. I just want the whey. And we'll drop that in. And basically what we've done is we've infused lactobacillus, because all these vegetables, most of them anyway, came from the grocery store. So that way, you know, when you do that and you're using store-bought vegetables, they've been, you know, washed and what have you, and a lot of the bacteria has been washed off them. So now we've infused lactobacillus in there. We'll get the weights on them, and this will sit for about 7 to 10 days, and it will be wonderful escabeche, and you guys will be sampling the weights. And it comes with these ceramic weights that are designed for this. They've been rinsed and cleaned, and it's kind of hard to do watching yourself on the phone, but what these are designed to do is fit in one side each and weight down your vegetables. And you might get a couple that kind of spring up, and we just eat them. And keep the majority of the vegetables underneath the water. And then we'll add the lid. And use the same saltwater brine. And I'll have to mix a little bit more up, but basically we'll fill that with a water seal. And that'll just sit out at room temperature and ferment for a few days. And we'll be back to show you the final product on today. I've also made some yogurt. This is a quart jar. And there are 12 pints and 3.5 quarts, which of course is about another pint in there. And all you do to make this is hold milk at about 180 degrees to 190 degrees for about 20 minutes. And then let it cool down, and then pitch a cup of yogurt into it. And that yogurt has enough lactobacillus to get it going. Put it in Excalibur dehydrator. And we'll crank it to right at 110 degrees, and it needs to stay in here for about 8 to 12 hours at this temperature, and it'll set. And when it sets, we got some here that I made last week. You can see it sets. It's kind of almost like cheese. Let me go ahead and open this. You can see, again, this is some made last week, and it's almost, see how thick that is? It's beautiful. Not like what you see in the stores. Really good stuff. I'll take that in and eat it. And the reason it's so thick is a tip from Erica Strauss. Not only do I use whole milk instead of
low fat. There's no such thing as low fat yogurt. I add 1 cup of whole cream, heavy cream, per half gallon. So 2 cups to the gallon, which is added. That's a gallon right there. And the Excalibur, and I'll show you real quick us pulling the turkey off the smoker for the end of the night, and we're finally gonna give it a rest. It's about 7 o'clock at night. I started about 7 o'clock this morning, about a 12-hour day on a Sunday. I know I get on you guys sometimes about making the most of your time, but this is an example of how we make things. I'd love to show you what everything looks like, but it's still screaming hot. So it did about another hour, hour and a half in the Bradley smoker at about 200 degrees. Everything is just beautiful. I can tell by the touch of it, but I don't want to open it yet. I want to let it sit overnight. Tomorrow I'll slice it up and I'll get it ready for the event in October, and then it'll be frozen and we'll just reheat it. It's going to be absolutely beautiful. Again, 25 pounds of turkey breasts. We also made a gallon and a half of yogurt and did a lot of other cool things today. So have a good evening, and we are done for the day. A day well earned.